Madhu, one of the questions that very commonly come up when I'm doing an assessment or when I'm assessing the child is from the parents is what is autism? Why does my child should be diagnosed with autism spectrum disorder or comes under the spectrum? I have a very clinical opinion and a clinical definition for it as a clinical psychologist. You, as an owner of a child development center and a mother of a special needs child and a psychologist, right? You have too many feathers in your too many feathers now. So, what do you think? What is autism? Why does it happen?
You mean the causes of autism?
Yes.
What are the main causes of autism? Actually, now the numbers are staggering, huge numbers. 1 in 37 in boys and 1 in 59. And in India, of course, we don't really have any numbers. Why is there such a huge increase in the recent past? There's so much, discussion goes, and parents are, they always ask me, ma'am, what causes autism? Did I do anything which caused autism to my child? From whatever little research I did and whatever I read, I think there are many factors that can affect, and cause this condition in a child. And the first most important is genetic. There is a lot of evidence that points towards genetic mutation, that could have caused this condition in children. And the second thing could be prenatal environment. Nowadays a lot of environmental pollution is happening. Mothers are exposed to so many toxins, phthalates, pesticides, solvents, air pollutants, toxic waste sites near their apartments, heavy metal pollution. All these probably are adding to that, because there are some studies pointing to that. And another study points to parents' age. The study says that if the mother's age is above 39 and father's age is above 40, there is a chance of child, they having a child with autism. And pesticides, everything is nowadays pointing to pesticides, a huge culprit. They say, the amount of pesticides that are used in growing vegetables that children consume, and amount of hormones and injections that are given to these farmed animals like chicken and goats, and whatever meat the children are eating, these organochlorine pesticides, these are causing autism, probably. And there are many studies, and there are many smaller studies that cannot be taken as the only cause. It could be folic acid deficiency during pregnancy, and vitamin D deficiency, exposure to mercury during pregnancy. There are so many such studies. And oxidative stress, of mothers during pregnancy could cause autism in children. Lead poisoning, because there's so much lead poisoning, emissions, lead being emitted, we inhale it every day. And another theory is that vitamin D deficiency could have caused it, because I don't remember my vitamin D being tested when I was pregnant. I don't even remember taking vitamin D at all, and I happen to have a child with autism. I really don't know. And when I tested a few years later, my vitamin D, it was abysmally low. It was almost like zero, almost that close to zero. So really, we don't know, Isha. We can't point to one thing that would have caused autism. So autism is caused by multiple complex reasons. It's a neurological disorder. And all these things might be interplaying, in what permutation and combination, we don't know. What happened, how this happened, it's hard to tell. But it's a pretty complex disorder. Nobody will be able to tell you one reason, that this is the reason why your child has gotten this condition. That's hard to tell. And some studies are saying that there are 200 genes that are associated with autism. In what combination they are expressed, that decides what kind of autism that your child has. So imagine if 200 genes are at play. It's a pretty complex disorder. It's like, imagine a switchboard with 200 switches, and in what combination those switches are on or off, because it's such a complex condition. And After 22 years also, when I see a new child, again I have to go back to books, again I have to refer. I know how many discussions we have every day about scoring, diagnosing a child, and agreeing, disagreeing, saying that no, let me talk to my senior, my professor. You're calling your professor, I'm calling people I know. Because when we write that name autism on a child's diagnosis, it's a pretty I feel like labeling a child for life. We take that extremely seriously. I just don't want to put a name like casually, okay, autism, diagnosis, autism. That's not some great thing to do without thinking through. So when a professional puts it, I'm sure they think through a lot that I'm labeling this child for life, So yes, there is such a complex set of things that are involved, because no two parents' story is the same. No two mothers tell me the same thing. In some cases, I've seen stress. In some cases, I've seen extreme nutritional deficiencies. In some cases, I have seen family history of autism in their family. In some cases, I have seen, age of the mother, very late pregnancy. In some cases, I have seen IVF, IUI children. In some cases, I have seen lifestyle issues that parents, the kind of life they were leading during pregnancy. So in my 22 years, I've seen all types of cases. When I'm taking the case history from parents, I've seen all kinds of different permutations and combinations of histories. And then I'll know, okay, maybe this could have caused, maybe that could have caused. But I can't put my finger on one thing and say this caused in this child. In spite of, I can do guesswork, I can do some intelligent guessing, but I still can't be certain, with our experience, because I don't really have a proof. I don't have evidence to say. I have not done research in 200 mothers to say that this would have caused autism. So with whatever little research we have done with all our work that we do, I have put up a small blog article. I'm going to put up one with whatever I spoke today, and with some more pointers in that, with some references that kind of support what I have said today, so that those who listen to this talk can always go and refer to that blog and see what we have got, where we have got that information from, and can delve deeper and dig deeper and find out if they are parents or researchers or anybody working in this profession. I think it's pretty complex. You can't just say one thing causes autism. So and my another request is, instead of going back and trying to find out what caused autism to my child, I would rather go forward and say, yes, my child has autism. Now, how do I help the child? Because I can't undo whatever caused autism. I can't undo that. The only thing that I can do is I can go forward and help the child and see how much I can help, how to improve my child's quality of life when he becomes a young adult. And go forward, not rather than trying to, who caused, I caused, or my husband caused, or that doctor caused, or cesarean section caused. Nobody knows. So let's not worry about what caused. But those who are interested, I try to give an answer that to the best of my ability. I hope I answered this question, Nisha.
No, you did, and you're quite right, Madhvi. I mean, as a professional also practicing for more than a decade, it's very hard for me to pinpoint a reason when parents ask me, why has my child autism? It's multidimensional. There are too many reasons, too many permutation and combination. Yes, completely. And I do want to reinforce this fact that when a child comes to a center, to me or to you, we actually take a lot of pain in diagnosing a child with autism. Yes. It's not easy for us. No. So, I mean, it may seem like that we are just putting a diagnosis, but we go through hell before putting the diagnosis. Yeah, putting that autism spectrum disorder in the diagnosis section of the report, we think 100 times, we discuss 100 times, we argue, we fight, and we cite this reference, that reference, ye hua, aise hua, look at this section of the history, look at that score. So many cross references are happening, talking to the OT, talking to the speech therapist. So much happens, it's like 6 days of discussion, and then we put that name on the report, so it's really not an easy job.
And also we don't like to call any child ASD unless until we want to help the child, because the diagnosis is going to help the child improve. That's why we have to call it a name. Unless we call it a name, what are we going to do with the child? We can't just ignore it. That's the reason why diagnosis is important. More than the cause, I would focus on how to help the child. Yes, my child has autism. Now what should I do next should be our approach. I feel that. Yeah.
No, you are right. And you made a very valid point here, Madhvi, that about the diagnosis. Why is a diagnosis important? Why is the name important? As a professional, and you can, of course, add on to it, but as a professional, I need the name because it tells me how to take that disease forward, that disorder forward. There have been tons and tons research, papers published, how to treat, how to do a therapy, what works, what does not work. So till I label or till I give a diagnosis to a child, how would I be able to form a treatment plan also?
Yes, exactly. It's like, going to a doctor with a pain in your stomach. The doctor has to investigate further and find out why is your stomach hurting. It could be just indigestion. It could be just something that you ate yesterday. You're not able to eat. You are probably intolerant to, or you might have some acidity, or you might have cancer, or it's something else, some ulcer in your stomach. You don't know. There could be 100 reasons why you might have stomach ache. The doctor has to find out what causes their stomach ache so that he can treat it correctly, or that might need further investigations. When a parent comes to me, most common thing that they tell us is my child is not speaking. That's the first concern. Ma'am, my child is 2 years old, but he or she is not speaking, not responding to name call, ma'am, not playing with other children in my community, and he's an extreme picky eater, not sleeping well in the night, not sitting at one place, or not playing with the toys appropriately, just looks at the wheels and spins the wheels, or is obsessed with one toy and whole day he or she is holding the toy. These when a parent is saying these things, my the red flags in my head are going off. Oh my God, this, oh my God, that. But I still don't want to assume anything till I understand thoroughly why the child is behaving, because many childhood disorders show similar symptoms. We just can't assume that these, just because they have 4 symptoms, they have ASD. So we have to undergo thoroughly, probe into the situation and find out. Like, we have a very 6-page history form in our center. Sometimes parents are annoyed. What is this? Why are you asking us so many questions? Just today we had that incident. Somebody came and we gave them the history form, and they said, why there are 6 pages? Why are you asking so many questions? My child just has speech delay. I had to explain that a speech delay is just a symptom. We need to understand what is causing the speech delay, for which I need to understand all these things that are listed in this. Please bear with us. I will tell you after 2 days when I discuss the report why your child has speech delay, and till that time you need to support me. Otherwise, I can't complete the assessment. For my speech therapist also to understand why the speech delay is happening, you need to fill these forms. And then we gave a TP3 parent questionnaire, and then we were helping them with filling the forms because the parents were not able to understand many questions in that. So it's a very systematic process, isn't it? It's just not just looking at the child and say, oh, these 5 symptoms are there, so ASD. In 10 minutes you give the report and you send the child off. It's a very detailed process which takes a lot of time. Each assessments take a couple of hours for us. Sometimes parents come 2-3 days for completing the assessment. It's frustrating because they want to know instantaneously what's wrong with the child, and we can't be overconfident and disrespectful to children by just looking at a child and saying this is wrong with your child. Even though with experience, sometimes we know, sometimes on the first day itself, maybe this condition, maybe that condition, but I still don't want to be overconfident in labeling a child. I would still want to spend a lot of time with the child in labeling. What was the question? Am I going off the track?
No, you're completely right on that track. We're talking about why a diagnosis is needed.
Yeah, diagnosis is
What
important because we
takes,
need to form, we need to go to the next level, no, Isha? Like today's speech assessment that we have done, the child has been referred by a doctor in the city, and the doctor said all milestones are normal, only speech delay. But when we met our early interventionist and our speech therapist have met the child, we know that it is not just speech delay. The parents have told us that it's only speech delay. We don't want you to do any further assessments. It's a very tricky spot to be in because we know that the child has more than speech delay, not just speech delay. And then we are saying that the parent is saying that the doctor said so. So you just stick to the prescription, advice in the prescription. So it's very hard for us to work with certain situations like this. I don't know what to do in this situation. You know,
I do want to clarify this point completely. You're completely right. I mean,
yeah.
I do, as a professional, I do want to tell the parents that yes, when the parents come to us and when we are taking an initial history, we cover up the milestones in a very generic term, right? I mean, like speech ka these three markers are there or not, motor ka these three markers are there or not, etc. Right? But when we are doing an assessment, a detailed assessment, then we cover each of these milestones in detail.
Depth, yeah.
Right? With like 30 markers in speech, yes. So that's why, I mean, for a doctor or with somebody doing the initial consultation, it may feel like that the milestones are completely up to date, the development is quite fine. But when you go in detail, each and every marker, right, you may see a huge gap. Yes. Therefore, I mean, assessment is a very scientific process that we follow, and it is needed in spite of the initial history that takes
sometimes it's hard because parents say, ma'am, the doctor said there is no problem and you are saying that there is a problem. How come the doctor does not know and you know? You know, it becomes very difficult because with all due respect to doctors, they have like so many children waiting outside the clinics for consultation. They just have 10 minutes to see a child, and in 10 minutes they can only do that much. But when they come to us, we spend 4 hours with each child. We really go deep and we do assessments. Unless until we do those assessments, we can't take goals for therapy. We can't we can't plan how to take the child to the next level if a child has speech delay. That's why we need to do assessments and diagnosis. And diagnosis will help me to help the child. If I don't have the diagnosis, I'm beating around the bush, I'm groping in the dark. I'm trying this, I'm trying that. There's no focus. With the diagnosis, I have focus. I'm like I know that I need to get to this point because there is this condition and I need to take the child on this journey. Otherwise, it's like, I don't know where I'm going. I'm just driving the car. Okay, today I'm going this side, tomorrow I'm going that side. But I know if I'm going to Mumbai, I know this is the route I'm supposed to take. You know, that is the kind of direction that diagnosis will give. Without diagnosis, there is no direction for us therapists. You know, we don't have any interest in labeling a child. Our job is to help the child. And for us to help the child, we need to know the diagnosis. So that's why it's important. You know, right? How much we do in Ananya, how we work with the child. Yes, it is frustrating for parents, but we need those 4 days. And we want you to wait and support us those 4 days and answer our hundreds of questions so that we are not misdiagnosing your child. We want to diagnose the child correctly. And we don't get any pleasure in diagnosing any child.
Completely. I mean, that's the understatement of the year. We don't get any pleasure in diagnosing a child with ASD or any kind of childhood disorder.
Yes.
I mean, I go through reference after reference, assessments after assessments, collaborating everything before giving a diagnosis to the child. Before saying yes to a diagnosis to the